What is the T2 washout phenomenon? So we saw the T2 shine through, T2 washout phenomenon. Here is a lesion. Now within this lesion in the T2 there is a lot of brightness. What is happening to these bright areas in the diffusion weighted imaging? It is all becoming iso-intense. So these areas have been washed out. So there is no area of diffusion restriction or T2 shine through, but there is an area of diffusion washout, and this diffusion washout is a phenomenon usually seen with vasogenic edema. So again, differentiation between vasogenic edema and tumor, this particular phenomenon might help. What is T2 blackout? If you see, what do you think is this lesion? Any guess? A meningioma. Yeah, this is what is the diagnosis. But let me ask you, a meningioma like this, this is the diffusion weighted imaging. This is the ADC map and the diffusion. How many meningiomas are so black in diffusion? Usually they are not. And this was showing a low perfusion also. Perfusion image is not here. So it won't show a low perfusion. Meningioma usually does not show a low perfusion. The perfusion is high, number one, and usually there will be some restriction of diffusion. So seeing these diffusion and perfusion imaging findings, we thought that this is not a meningioma. Another thing what we saw is in susceptibility weighted imaging there is a lot of black areas, and these are because of susceptibility within. So it could be due to calcium or it could be metallic things. Actually it was some free radicals because of an aspergilloma. This was actually an aspergilloma which was showing there was no diffusion restriction but a diffusion blackout phenomenon. Because there are a lot of areas of susceptibility within the lesion, in hematomas, in areas where there are more free radicals, where there are more calcium, in diffusion weighted imaging it will look black, and in ADC also it will look black. So three phenomena you should know: T2 shine through, blackout phenomenon, and washout phenomenon. What is the cause of a hyperintensity in the splenium in a case of seizure? Postictal. And in postictal it is not due to cytotoxic edema, it is because of the GABA glutamate toxicity. So this is another cause other than cytotoxic edema and highly cellular tissue. Also glutamate toxicity in many conditions can cause a restricted diffusion. A central pontine myelinolysis causing restricted diffusion, again it's a demyelinating condition, can cause that. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Now looking at diffusion weighted imaging is an important thing whenever you suspect CJD, because diffusion restriction is taken as one of the criteria for diagnosis CJD. Now what about this case? Look at a posterior fossa lesion in a 23-year-old female, which is on one side hemispheric, which is showing restricted diffusion and not much enhancement of contrast. So why is there restricted diffusion? Because of high cellularity. If it were highly cellular, why it is not enhancing with contrast? Because most of the tissues which are highly cellular, neuroblastoma, lymphoma, high-grade glioma, wherever there is high cellularity, there is a lot of enhancement. Why it is not enhancing? Because it is not just due to high cellularity, enhancement occurs. If the tissue has a lot of fibrous tissue within it, enhancement is not seen much. So you should not take the diffusion imaging findings alone. You should take how it happens in the enhancement. Here there is not much of enhancement, and that is because this was a desmoplastic variant, a variant of medulloblastoma, which is highly cellular, but at the same time there is a lot of fibrous content within, and it is because of that fibrous content that enhancement is not happening. Now, this is again a highly cellular tumor, but you see the diffusion weighted imaging is showing that there is no restricted diffusion. Why? It's a highly cellular tumor, hemangiopericytoma. Because within a hemangiopericytoma there are a lot of vascular spaces. When there are a lot of vascular spaces within, there is a lot of perfusion happening within the tumor. So the ADC naturally, because the diffusion naturally becomes more. So it is because of the high vascularity that the diffusion has become more, and therefore there is no restricted diffusion in this particular case. I hope you understood. So the fibrous content within a tumor or the number of vessels within the tumor can be indirectly estimated by means of diffusion weighted imaging. So we are going more and more towards tumor microenvironment. Another lesion here, this is a tumor, meningeal sarcoma, which was irradiated, and you can see that this is an area where there is restriction of diffusion, as you can see here, but there is no enhancement. That means that this area having more of fibrous content now, and this was pathologically proved. More of fibrous content within the center after irradiation. Low cellularity lesions like a DNET will produce a very high ADC of 2 or more. Sometimes here it is 1.91, so a large amount of diffusivity is there. So if you can actually look at the contrast and the ADC values, it will give some information about the texture of the lesion and the microenvironment of the tumor. Diffusion tensor imaging, other than the ADC, you are looking at another parameter. I'm not going into the physics of it. Another parameter, and that parameter is very important. Diffusion tensor imaging is not tractography. Tractography gives a very small information. Look at the FA maps. And you have a black and white FA map, you have a color FA map. In fractional anisotropy, if the FA is very high, the high FA is FA of 1. That means there is full directionality. If the FA comes down, if FA becomes 0, that means there is no directionality. So within the CSF space, you have an FA of 0. Within the corpus callosum, you have an FA of something approaching 1. It may be 0.8 or 0.9. So these particular values are important. Now with this information, we will go to some cases. Now this is a case of a hyperintense lesion in the temporal lobe, which is producing hyperintensity in the diffusion weighted imaging. What is the diagnosis? It is an epidermoid. It is an epidermoid because you can see that not much of restricted diffusion. As I was telling you, epidermoid need not produce much restricted diffusion. And this is the removal of the diffusion. This particular, the map which I was talking about is exponential map. Yeah, I just forgot about it. This is the exponential map. And these are all informations that you get in your DTI card. And I'm sure that most of you are not using it. This is spherical anisotropy. This is a planar anisotropy map. This is a linear anisotropy map. And there is something called diffusion tensor mode. What does it give? All these things give information. These gives information about how the fiber tracks are there within the brain. Or within the tumor, is there a directionality or not? Now within an epidermoid, as you know, there is directions within. There are keratins which are arranged along a direction. So if there is some directionality within the tumor, naturally the FA will be high. But here it is along the plane that the direction is there. So the planar anisotropy is very high, but along a particular line it might not be there. So the linear anisotropy is low. So looking at the linear anisotropy, planar anisotropy, and spherical anisotropy, you can get an information about how the cells are arranged within a lesion, how the fibers are arranged within the lesion, whether there is a directionality or not. We took the same information into glioma. What happens in a low-grade glioma? A low-grade glioma has a lot of tissues around, but the number of cells are very less. So naturally, there won't be any directions within because the cells are just moving around in different directions. But our hypothesis was that if that is so, a high-grade lesion with a lot of cells should have a high FA value. And we did a study in differentiating between a high-grade glioma and a low-grade glioma. And consistently, in many cases, we saw that if you have a high FA value, this is the FA map, actually within a glioma, you expect a lot of destruction of white matter. Rather than that, the FA value is quite high in this particular case, which shows that this particular lesion is a high-grade lesion, and actually it was proved, and we have published this in neuroradiology. Similarly, if you go to a meningioma, within a meningioma, if you see the FA is high, this is the FA map, and you can see the FA is high. Means an FA which is approaching 9. So there is directionality within. And what we found out is a tumor which is highly cellular meningioma, like an atypical meningioma, or a meningioma which has a lot of fibers and which has a lot of directions, have a high FA. So we can differentiate the different types of meningioma. So what I want to drive to you is the point that tumor microenvironment can be very well studied by the FA maps. Just don't go with the fiber tracking, but look at the FA map always, try to measure these values. We also use the color maps, and color maps we basically use to actually identify which is the fiber tract which is involved. Is it the superior longitudinal fasciculus? Is it the pyramidal tract? And you can actually make the track of everything, but some of the most important ones which we regularly do to look at the eloquent white matter is basically the corticospinal tract here, the optic radiation. These are the ones which our surgeons want to know. This sometimes we do the superior cerebellar peduncles, the fornix, the corpus callosum, but these are not very eloquent actually, so to say, in comparison to the corticospinal tract and the optic radiation. Many of these tumors which are close to it, we will tell them whether it is infiltrating, which is very close, or involving. Again, you can get some information about the infiltration by means of but we have not found this as useful as understanding the microenvironment. This is the FA map, and you can see this is a very well-defined lesion, but the hues around, the color hues around the lesion has changed, so it's probably infiltrating, and we had put this as an infiltrative glioma, and actually it was, in comparison to this lesion where it is just the corticospinal tract is just pushed to one side. There are newer things coming with DTI, and I am sure that these newer things will be there, the tumor infiltration index. By means of DTI, you can actually see how much of infiltration is happening. This is important in differentiation between a metastasis and a glioma. Metastasis does not infiltrate, glioma infiltrates. So you can differentiate it. Also, how much of infiltration is there, a high grade or a low grade lesions. So these are things which are coming up. This, I think I'm very sure most of the vendors are working on these newer applications of the DTI. In neurorehabilitation, DTI has a very important role, and we have to make the neurologist and the physical medicine people realize it, for both for cognitive rehabilitation, how much there is brain plasticity, how much the white matter is changing after a trauma. So in follow-up of these patients with trauma, we can regularly do DTI. As in cerebral palsy patients, it is done. Some studies have been done on motor neuron disease, but most of the studies on motor neuron disease and degenerative diseases are basically a comparison of a normal population with a control. So first of all, you should have a normal population, and you should understand what is the FA and the ADC values in the various areas in the brain in your normal population. And then you compare it with the diseased population having motor neuron disease, multiple sclerosis, and tell them that how much of damage has happened. And follow-up of these cases of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Parkinson's plus disease can also be possible. How much of white matter damage is possible over time? And that is the two parameters that you have to use. For that is the ADC and the FA. We have done some studies on Parkinson's, differentiation between Parkinson's and Parkinson's plus. So DTI is an area which is evolving. You can get a lot of information about the damage of the brain which has happened due to a trauma or a neurodegenerative disease. A lot of information about tumor microenvironment. So we have to first of all start utilizing these things. It is there in the machine, but many times we don't use, and it takes just 2 to 3 minutes. Unless we start using it, the potential role of these techniques cannot be understood. Thank you very much.